All In Faith Challenge, day 19, I believe. Um, I love the Lord of the Rings series. Um, I love the movies, but I love reading the books even more because they're a little bit more in depth. And I'm going to assume that as I say this, I'm just going to say it as if you don't know about Lord of the Rings, and I think most of you probably do, but I'm sure Allison probably doesn't because she doesn't seem to know about anything. Like she doesn't even know about Forrest Gump. But anyways, we can talk about her later. Um, in Lord of the Rings, in the second, I think it's the second book, or maybe it's the third. I don't know. These two hobbits have gone into these woods where the trees are alive. These trees are called Ents, and these Ents are ancient creatures, and they're very wise and they're very old. And anyways, these hobbits are allowed to drink from the river that flows through um, the forest where the trees are, and it's like the best water they've ever drank in their lives. And then when their friends see them a little bit later, after they'd been separated for a while, they realize that they'd grown. They see something different about uh, these two hobbits who had drank from this river. Um, and we're going to get back to this story. There's a reason why I started off with that. But I'm calling today "Wake Up," and I live. We live in Pittsburgh. I live in Pittsburgh, and um, the job I do, I go into a lot of different offices and factories, and there's this very real sense that people are just stuck in like 1970. It's the same music on the radio, and it's the same thing every day, and you may work in an office where it's the same thing every day. It's just kind of like the doldrums, and you ask people how they're doing, and it's the answer is another day, nothing going on but the rent. And what we see, and we deal with it in our own lives so much. But what we see is it's this existence. It's not living. It's just existing and just trying to get by from day to day. Just you know, just to get by. Um, and I want to challenge us with the idea that that's not what a Christian should look like. And this isn't like about morality. This isn't about like, hey, you got to put on an act. Um, if we have the Spirit of Christ inside of us, if we have the author and creator of the world inside of us, living inside of us, shouldn't we look a little bit different? Shouldn't we sound a little bit different than everybody around us? Um, do you think the disciples had just another day with Jesus? Um, I think Paul may have been challenged with this every once in a while because, he spent a good part of his adult life in jail. So maybe he dealt with it, maybe he didn't. But um, you can't, as Christians, I can't reconcile us just having just another day. If the Spirit of God is truly living in us and growing in us, he's, Jesus said that I've come to have that you may have life and have it abundantly. We're meant to have the spark of eternity bursting out of us. Um, just like these hobbits that have drank this water from a land that isn't normal. You know, Jesus talks about him being the living water, and he talks about him being the bread of life. And if we're actively um, allowing the Spirit of God to grow inside of us by sanctifying ourselves and by really going all in every single day and sacrificing our flesh, and if that's really what's happening to us, our lives are going to reflect that. Our lives are going to reflect that we have been in the presence, and we've been someplace that the world can't get to apart from Christ, because Christ is the source. Christ is the spark. Um, you know, in in Exodus, when we see Moses having a conversation with God, and um, the verse Exodus 33:16, Moses is talking to God, and he's saying, "How then will it be known that your people and I have found grace in your sight, except that you go with us? So we shall be separate, your people and I, from all the people who are on the face of the earth." As Christians, we have to look different. We're meant to look different, and not like, a false sense of cheeriness that everything's all right and we've got it all together, because it's not reality. But the Spirit of God should be so alive in us, because, and we should be so pumped about life. And it's not going to, it's an ebb and a flow. But if the Spirit of God is truly alive and at work in us, we're going to have a different vision. We're going to solve our problems differently. We're going to resolve conflict differently. We're going to discipline our children differently. We're going to discipline ourselves differently. We're going to do things differently, because God is different than the world. And so, the challenge for us is to constantly be in His presence, because in that presence there's joy, in that presence there's peace, in His presence are all of these eternal, deep, long-lasting things that the world is craving but can't find in the temporary and the material and the cultural. God offers us long-term, eternal principles that we can base our life off of, that give us freedom, that give us peace, that give us joy. The world offers us temporary feelings and emotions that are fickle and that change. And so if we're learning about peace and we're learning about grace, and Jesus is teaching us about love and compassion and justice, if He's teaching us His way of doing things, our lives are going to look different as long as we practice what He's teaching us. And just like Moses says, we shall be separate. And all of the people who are on the face of the earth will know that you're with us, because we look different, we sound different, we act differently. And so I believe that today God's calling us to wake up. If you feel like you are existing, if you feel like you are just another day, ain't nothing going on but the rent, we have to wake up. In the book Radical, David Platt talks about overlooking a city and realizing that most of these people don't have the gospel, don't know the gospel, don't know Christ, and they're going to go to hell. And he just hears his voice saying, "Wake up, wake up. We're children of destiny. We're children of a king." And so let's start acting like it today. Wake up. You're meant to look differently. You're meant to act different. You're meant to talk different. You're meant to be different. You're meant to be alive. Jesus said, "I've come to give you life and life abundantly." Take Him up on that today.